Peace, love, Goldn.Light. Today is Thursday, and on Thursdays, I share my journal response to the Write It Down series. So this week has been about love. Our focus has been about love for others, love for yourself. How do we recognize genuine love and different things like that? So let's get into my response. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, we about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down. What do you know about love? Not a damn thing. But seriously, I feel like the more that I learn and experience and journey through life, the more love or the concept of love teaches me. But it's really always rooted in self-love. The love that I have for myself, really, it becomes like my compass to better understand love, to experience love, to be love, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I wrote here that the main thing was to let go that I know all about love and allow it to be open to teach me. Now, I never really came across as like, oh, I know everything about love and da 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 da, but it's more so that different things that I've experienced or different things that I've witnessed did shape my understanding of love, right? And sometimes it allowed me to be in this rigid mindset of what love is supposed to be like, right? Especially when it came to love and relationships, right? I didn't really, in the beginning on like, especially like, you know, when you young, like teenage, you know, early 20s and shit like that, I didn't really take care of myself in a way to really focus on love for myself because I was going through a lot of people pleasing, right? I was going through a lot of being service and nurturing to other people. So other people were always above me. As crazy as it sounds, that's the truth. I always put people before myself, right? I always consider other people's feelings before considering myself. Did more for people than I physically or emotionally did for myself. So self-love was never in my equations when it came to love and relationships, but I always had this idea of love, whether it was through TV, whether it was through home, whether it was through music, whatever I was able to get an idea of love, that's what I understood it to be, right? So when I went through different relationships and my experience with love, these are things that I had in my mind. And when it didn't really unfold in that way, I would be confused like, well, you're supposed to love me like this and I'm supposed to do that and that's supposed to mean love, right? It wasn't until I really sat down to better understand myself and the love that I have for myself to better gauge what love truly meant for me, right? How can my experiences really give me my own perception about love? And I remember when I was like, I think it was freshman in college, maybe around that time, I was in this relationship and then the relationship ended and I was just like, I remember I was on the bus and I was just praying. I was talking to God and I was just like, I'm going to put God first. I'm going to put myself first. You know, I always felt like I came up empty after a relationship, like I lost myself in a relationship. And I think because I would go into a relationship with so much giving without boundaries, because I don't know, to me, I felt like love shouldn't have a boundary, right? I felt like love, I could just fall all into it and it will always be okay, right? But no, love does have boundaries. Love has a way to receive and give by the person. But I really didn't understand that for myself. So I kind of just went all in all the time. Like, you know, I love hard. I love and give my all. That's cool. But I've learned to understand for me, I've been able to understand more of that because I went back to understand what is self-love for me, right? I was always giving to everybody else and not giving to myself, doing for others and not doing for myself, right? So I did learn a lot of hard lessons when it came to love because of these situations, it made me to be angry with love. It made me to be angry with myself that I was so loving, you know what I'm saying? And then it made me always feel like, oh my God, I should be like this. I should be something different. I should be someone different because maybe then I will get to experience what love is supposed to feel like or what love is supposed to be. But really, I had to go back to define my own self-worth and my own self-love, right? So I always felt like I came up short. But the more time But the more I spent with myself to embrace myself and fall in love with myself, it really helped me to direct other parts of my life. So I believe that self-love is connected to the love of the Most High. So the more that I've worked with myself, the more that I've embraced myself, the more that I was able to pull back layers to say, this is something that I don't like about myself, but I'm learning to love it, right? It brought me closer to the Most High. It brought me closer to an unconditional love, right? So love is not just a feeling, right? You know, early on growing up, you think it's like, oh, I like somebody, you know, I got this feeling that it is. But love, I always was told, love is an action, right? People are going to show that they love you by things that they say, things that they do, right? And that was something that I was looking for. What are you doing that's showing that you love me, right? But also not being rigid in that thought as well, meaning that if this person is doing this, that, and the third, that means that they love you, right? Because there's also a layer to that, because people also be fronting. People will do certain things just to deceive you, to let you think that they love you, right? So it was all, like I said, it was all these things that I was told and things that I saw and that I knew that made me feel like, okay, now if this looks like this way, then that's love, right? But it also deceived me, right? It also put blinders on me because I wasn't able to have enough love within myself to be that compass, to be that discernment, to have that connection with the Most High in order to really see certain things, right? So the older I got, the more, like, the experiences that I had, the more I was able to understand love. And back in the day, I wasn't really telling people just in a relationship, I love you, I love you. I'd be like, I didn't really know what love was. I mean, I like you a lot. And even when I like people, and I enjoy people, I do a lot for them, right? So imagine when I'm finally at the point where it's just like, yo, I love you. I learned too that love is not controlling. Love is not possession. Love is not, it's more about a connection than it is an attachment. Because I also learned within myself that I had codependent situations or tendencies, or however you want to put that, where, like, because of the lack of, say that over. The lack of love that I had for myself caused me to attach myself to people and to things, right? So I was always feeling like I'm tossed to and fro. The way that I felt like I invested myself, I always felt like, damn, I'm attached, right? So also knowing that love is not something that, for me, I understand love is not something to where, like, because you don't do this thing for me, that means my love for you is going to decrease, right? And that's where to say, like, love does have boundaries. Love does have a standard to say, like, yes, I love you, but I'm not going to do this thing because it doesn't feel right to me. Love doesn't mean that I do whatever somebody else wants, right? Just to prove that I love them, right? So it's all these ideas about love and stories about love and struggle with love, and that's supposed to be true love and things like that. And I just know that everybody's situation, when we talk about relationship, everybody's situation is different, right? And you can't base someone else's marriage, you can't base someone else's relationship, somebody else's bond to be like yours, to be your definition of love. It has to be defined for yourself, but it's coming from the love that you have for yourself and the love that you have with the Most High. One of the other questions was, what do you know about love? Love for yourself and love for others, right? My love for others is sometimes also what I see in people, which can also mess me up because it's like you then fall in love with people's potential, right? And I learned the hard way with that as well. But it's a care and a compassion and a kindness that I have for people, to all want them to be happy, want them to succeed, want them to win in life. That's the love that I have for people, is always rooted in them being okay, them being happy, them being successful. So even the things that I do now, I love y'all. I want y'all to win. I want y'all to be happy in life. I want y'all to have the desires, your desires to be met in life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my love for other people is rooted in them being happy in their life and succeeding. And that's why I go hard for the things that I do, because I love y'all. Love is also releasing expectations, right? I think I went through a phase where I expected people to love me a certain way. And what I really realized, that it was rooted in the lack of love that I had for myself, right? I wanted people to say nice things to me. I wanted people to do nice things because it validated and it made me feel good. But what could I experience if I first loved myself, right? I wouldn't have these certain expectations. So even where there was a time last year where I spent going through a journal prompt with a group of sisters for a session where we talked about love language. And for the first time I thought about, what are my love languages when I first love myself? Because sometimes I realized that some of my love language at first was like, I wanted people to do and say these things because it made me feel good, because it was something that I was lacking within myself. But what if I loved myself first? How then can I experience love? How easier would it be to allow love to flow, right? I realized too that love is not always just about like, oh my God, I feel good. Because sometimes love comes with correction, right? And at first, correction don't fucking feel good. But you know at the end of it, it is going to feel good because you know that it's for your growth. So when you're surrounded by people, whether it is friendship or a romantic relationship, about people who love you and care for you, and they bring correction or they bring something to where you can see the fullness of what you're doing, that's love. Because at the root of that, I want you to succeed. I want you to grow. I want you to be happy. And sometimes we're so close to ourselves or a situation that it helps for other people to give us a different perspective, to help us to take a step back to see certain things. And that's love, right? So that's another aspect of it as well. Love is being home within myself and experience that journey with other people, right? So the more that I'm filled with how I understand love for myself, how I'm taking care of myself, how I'm nurturing myself, how I'm correcting myself, how I'm speaking to myself, how I'm treating myself, helps me to understand to also journey with love with other people, right? I'm not going to be controlling what people do. I'm not going to be possessive about what people do. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I experience as well, or understand as well. Another question that was asked, how do you recognize love within yourself? So I recognize love within myself by how I treat myself, how I talk to myself, how I care for myself, how I show up for myself. It's standing on my foundation and being deeply rooted in myself, not needing to prove or defend myself to anyone, right? It's a personal experience that others may not understand but will feel and experience. It's not bullshitting myself. It's the love of the Most High, right? So these are different ways that I recognize myself. I remember a couple years ago, I had a moment where I realized no matter if I was tired, if I was drained, if I couldn't move, if somebody needed something, I would get up and do it. But when it came to myself, I would make up so many excuses to the simplest things to care for myself. And when that hit me, I was like, nah, this shit gotta change, right? So it's also the way that I recognize love within myself is being able to show up and do the things that's needed for my growth and my happiness. So that if that means that I need to meditate, if that means I need to journal, it means I need to eat better, if it means I need to get more rest, that's how I know I'm truly loving myself, because I'm being obedient to the spirit that is telling me what I need to do for myself, right? Because I feel like love helps you to expand. Love helps you to grow. Love helps you to be in the fullness of who you are. So if I'm not doing those things for myself, then I don't really love myself, right? So loving myself is not lying to myself. It's not putting up a front. It's facing the things that are hard for me to face because I want to be better, right? Being better is how I also know and recognize that I love myself. Another thing was a question about what does genuine love feel like? For me, genuine love just feels like being whole, like you're whole within yourself and being able to experience life being yourself and sharing that experience with other people. Children give me a really good example of genuine love and compassion when I see the way that they interact with their siblings or how they interact with their parents, right? Or other people that, surrounding them. It's just something so pure and innocent that, a love from a child that really shows you what true love can be, right? So when I hear my sisters who have children and they talk about, their child actually teaching them love, right? That's something that I can empathize with. I don't have children of my own, but it's just being able to hear that and experience that through them that allows me to say, like, children really do show you the fullness of love, right? Even when I'm around children, whether it's my nieces, my nephew, genuine love is unconditional love. It's a space where you're able to be who you are and still, no matter how much you're evolving and changing, is still having love through those stages, right? Still having love for yourself. I'm still, every day I'm learning more about love. Every day I'm learning more about self-love, right? The more that I'm growing within myself, I'm also learning to love myself more, right? There was a period of time where I was just so angry with myself, so frustrated and angry with myself when I was facing the hidden parts of myself, or facing the things that I felt like I didn't like about myself. Why am I like this? Why am I like this? I don't like that about myself. I hate this part of myself. And saying those things really shut me off from really embracing it, right? But when I was able, I didn't immediately say like, oh, I love that part of myself. But I stopped using that type of language or dialogue to say, I hate that part of myself. Now, if I didn't like a part of myself and I wanted to work on it, as I was working on it, it allowed me to love that process, to love the process of taking something that wasn't so great and becoming better, but not hating it so much that I ignored it and I threw it away, right? I just didn't recognize or acknowledge it, all right? And I feel like to embrace all parts of myself really helps me to understand love in its fullness, right? It's not always going to be perfect. There's nothing that's perfect, right? But when you're willing to do the work, when you're willing to show up for other people and show up for yourself and do it with love, do it with kindness and compassion from a genuine place, like a pure place with good intentions, with pure intentions, right? You're not really looking to get over on people. You're not really looking to cause harm or evil. Like you truly love. You can truly love. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's something that's so powerful, and we need more of that. We need more of genuine, true love. So that's all that I have for this week's prompt. I'm going to continue to share different things. Today's Thursday, so throughout the rest of this week, I'm going to still give you guys different examples from movies and just different things that we can talk about to help us expand different perceptions or ideas of love, right? I'll leave you with this. To be whole within yourself is very important, and not to look outside of yourself to feel like you need to be complete. All right? So until next time, new Sunday. Until next time on Sunday, I have a brand new prompt to keep the Write It Down series going. Peace and love. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen. We about to write it down. You know what you gotta do now. Grab a pen, write it down.